What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So today we have some big news. President Biden has just got a big win. We have a major announcement that I want to get to. Also want to talk about the Federal Reserve's next big move, what we are seeing and why economists are now telling us that the American people should be worried because of additional fears moving forward regarding inflation. So I will be addressing all those things in today's video. All I ask is if you can spend just 2 seconds, go ahead, hit that like button, consider subscribing, and let's begin. So the first thing that we need to discuss is the congressional race. We now know that Democrats are just one seat away from holding on to the majority in the Senate. This is big. This is big news for Democrats because if Democrats were to give control or concede control to Republicans would likely make it very hard for President Biden to do his job because they would pass legislation that they know full well President Biden would never accept and never sign, which means he would have to veto all these bills. But look at these numbers right here. Here's what I can tell you. Right now, this is actually from Bloomberg. It says the Senate is split 49 to 49. That means there is just 2 more seats open. That is it. We have Nevada and we have Georgia. Well, look at these numbers. Then you got the House. Democrats with 201, Republicans with 211. All you need is 218 to gain control. But let's go and look at this. Here's what I can show you right here. This is the big one, okay? This is Nevada right here. You can see 95% of the total votes have been counted, right? So Republicans lead with a 0.1% margin. That is it, 0.1%. Look how close this is. And you can see right here, Adam Laxalt only leads by 862 votes. This is the next one right here. And you can see down in Georgia, this race will go to a runoff election with the top 2 candidates advancing, which will be Raphael Warnock and Herschel Walker. Now, this right here, because neither one reached the 50 vote minimum, they will go to a Senate runoff. That runoff election will happen on December 6th. Now, keep that in mind, right? Those are the 2 big ones. Those are the 2 ones that are left. So just keep that in mind because as we get a little bit further along, and again, we could have an answer on Nevada as soon as today, but chances are it's going to be most likely come Monday. We are going to know exactly who wins Nevada. And if it's Democrats, well, that's good news for Democrats. If it's Republicans, well, good news for Republicans. But we will see, and as always, as I get that information, I promise to pass that along. And there was another major announcement that happened just yesterday as well. A lot of people didn't realize this. Obviously yesterday was Veterans Day, very big day. A lot of people weren't working. So yeah, I get how this was kind of, passed under the rug. But here's what happened yesterday. We heard from an administration official that said that they will be extending the public health emergency through the spring of 2023. Now, why wasn't this like bigger news? Well, obviously because it's the public health emergency. Here's what I can tell you. We also heard from the Health and Human Services Secretary, Xavier Becerra. This was months ago. But he said that he would provide healthcare providers with a 60-day notice before lifting the emergency declaration so that they could actually prepare for a return to normal operations. Well, we know that the public health emergency expires in January. So he needed to actually notify the public health workers or healthcare providers. He didn't do that. So we know it is going to get extended, right? And then when an administration official comes out and says, no, they are going to extend it through the spring of 2023, that's big news, right? That is big news. Now, why does the public health emergency matter? What does it actually do? What does this declaration do? Well, it allows hospitals and other healthcare providers more flexibility as to how they operate in this tough time. It also continues, the application will allow millions of Americans to receive free tests, vaccines, and treatment until at least April of 2023. So those are some of the big things. But here's the next big thing. And if you watched my video yesterday, then you would know that one of the things that the White House press secretary said that President Biden wants to do is he wants to provide additional funding, obviously for COVID. Well, can't do that, or it would be very difficult to do that if we don't have a public health emergency. So by extending this, it gives Congress the ability to continue talking about funding for additional legislation. But if the public health emergency hadn't been extended, then the likelihood of this funding happening would be practically zero. Because lawmakers would be like, well, why would we provide funding for that health emergency when the health emergency wasn't actually extended? So does that mean it's over? That's a big deal. It's a very big deal. I know a lot of people don't think it's that big of a deal, but when health officials, and I know you're probably thinking, well, they've been wrong before, they could be wrong again. Yeah, I get it, but health officials say this winter will be a tough winter just because so many people have got out of the habit of wearing a mask. I can tell you for myself, I don't wear a mask when I go out anymore, right? Because the health emergency has been over for quite some time, or at least that's what experts were telling us, right? So I don't wear a mask when I go out anymore. And so that's what many people are saying, and health experts are telling us is our immune system has been compromised over the past 2 years. So at this time, as we go out, as we interact, as there's additional viruses out there, we could catch them. So they want to bring back some additional funding. But again, as always, as I know more there, I promise I will fill you in on those updates as soon as we get them as well. And now let's talk about the Federal Reserve, what they are doing, and why there's inflation fears coming in January and February. Here's what we know. The Federal Reserve is doing, all they can, or so they say, to bring down inflation. However, economists are predicting that it will not be enough. Right now, the Federal Reserve is trying to slow down inflation by increasing rates, right? By hiking rates. And by hiking rates, companies are likely to not give out wage increases or simply stop hiring altogether. Or if you're like Meta, you will just fire or lay off 11,000 people. All right, so that's very important. But here's the problem. Many companies have no choice. They have to give out wage increases in order to make their employees happy. Or in the case of United Airlines, they have to entice employees to come back by giving them an excessive wage increase from what they used to get because they have to pay their pilots more. If they don't pay their pilots more, they will not come back to work. That's a huge issue. That's causing multiple issues. It's just a domino effect. And we are seeing that. We have been seeing that for over the past year. And so we need to get more pilots back into their seats. We also know truckers are demanding more money, and for good reason. They've been overworked for the past 2 years, right? And then we have the major issues regarding railroad workers. Here's what I can tell you. There's over 110,000 railroad workers. And in this tentative agreement that was kind of put on by a committee that President Biden put together, well, they have said that they are willing to give railroad workers a 24% raise. That's big. This hasn't been signed. And when you give 110,000 people a 24% raise, that's going to do some stuff. That's going to move the needle. Now, just keep in mind, as railroad workers make more money, right? Guess what? The amount of money that the railroads have to charge for shipping the products, right, goes up, which means the company that's selling those products, or the farmers, they raise their prices. You see how everything kind of just ticks up. Well, guess what? That means more wage increases. That is not what the Federal Reserve wants to see. The Federal Reserve wants to raise rates. They want to tighten. They want to make things a little more difficult. They want to cause demand destruction. They want unemployment to go up. That's what they want. Now, here's why all this is a major problem. Not only does an increase to wages give you more buying power. But when economists are predicting a depression very soon, then the American people, in order to start preparing, they're going to start panic buying. Now keep this in mind, panic buying is never a good thing. But if you come across a bunch of money all of a sudden, right, you are going to use it to buy the things that you have needed or you are going to need. And when we start panic buying, this will greatly increase the cost of goods, right, which will increase inflation, additional inflation. But experts say that we must go through the panic buying phase first before we actually reach true demand destruction. Now, this is why economists predict that we will likely see additional inflation in the coming months, but they fear what is coming in January and February. They say that the average American family must first make it through the winter and the holiday shopping season before they really experience financial hardships. And that's true. And I've seen this before where people come out and they spend money. They spend a lot of money during the holiday season. And then they try to make up for it come January, February, and March. But if you don't have the money, you're putting on credit cards. Again, this is why they're saying this is when we are going to see those financial hardships. So, again, it's not the greatest news, but it's big news. What is coming out now? Again, very big news. I just wanted to provide you this quick little update for Saturday. If you have any questions whatsoever, please ask your questions down in the comment section below. Again, just want to thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.